How's it going, everyone? And welcome back. We're continuing the Marvel Marathon with another movie tie-in which is considered one of the best. This is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Uncaged Edition. For the Xbox 360. The best member of the X-Men and the Clawed Canuck himself, Wolverine. Even with all the various incarnations of the X-Men, Wolverine has been the most popular member. With the movies, they also pretty much made him the main character. So with a solo movie on the horizon, a video game tie-in was sure to follow, but since the movie went through multiple production delays, the game would be pushed as well, causing the developers to have some time to polish up the game and turn out a great final product. Speaking of the developers, Raven Software is at the helm. You may know them from games such as the X-Men Legends series and the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance, so they're actually a great fit for this character. Like I mentioned at the start, we'll be looking at the Uncaged Edition, which was released for the Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. A full warning, this is an M-rated title with lots of blood and gore, so if you're somewhat squeamish, I recommend you skip out on this video. Alright, with that said, let's pop our claws and slash our way into the video.
Like last video, no plot recap, since like last video it follows the film's story, but unlike last video it's expanded in all the right ways. It can be confusing since it jumps all over the place, but the inclusion and reworks from the movie makes the experience better overall. Another thing that really sells it is Hugh Jackman reprising as well as Wolverine, and he does a fucking fantastic job. All of his delivery is on point and nothing feels shoehorned in. Same can't be said for Liev Schreiber and will.i.am, who do a better job than most actors brought in, but clearly they aren't into it as much.
Alright, on to the gameplay, and I'm very excited.
If you're familiar with games such as God of War or Devil May Cry, you'll definitely feel right at home, and it's one of my favorite things about this game. You have your standard light and heavy attack, jump, grab, and block buttons. When you grab an enemy, you can perform a finishing move, and if you have good timing with blocking, you can deflect things such as blades and missiles. All these things together work really well for Logan, and it's honestly so much fun ripping people to shreds. There's also dash and roll maneuvers, but I don't really find myself using them unless it's necessary. Now to talk about my favorite move in the game, the lunge. If a goon is too far away, you can basically super jump over to them for a kill, and I never get tired of doing this move. Doesn't matter the situation, I will always take the opportunity to do it even if it isn't needed. By holding the right trigger and pressing certain face buttons, it allows you to perform special moves that'll help you dish out the pain even more. These include the Claw Drill, which is good for covering distance in a fight, a Berserk mode, which makes you more powerful and something I use for bosses, the Claw Cyclone, which I don't really find myself using much, and the Claw Spin, which is my personal favorite of the bunch. All these are incredibly fun to abuse, but just be aware of the yellow meter under your health.
You'll get lost in the madness. Trust me.
You can also utilize Wolverine's feral senses, which helps direct you on where you need to go and makes certain things stand apart, like environmental hazards. It's basically detective mode from the Batman Arkham games. By the way, go watch my reviews if you haven't already. As you slice and dice, you'll earn XP, and upon leveling up, you'll earn points which you can spend in the game's skill tree. All the upgrades definitely make an impact and aren't completely useless, unlike a certain game we talked about last time! Sorry. Like I mentioned, this combat system is incredibly entertaining and somewhat cathartic, so if you're looking to relieve some stress, I recommend you trying out this game. One thing I don't recommend is playing the game in long sessions, because even though I do like the combat, the game will test your patience, especially later on with certain levels and enemy types. Play in short bursts, and I promise you'll have a better experience overall.
So, with that, let's move on to the other stuff, and forget that burst of anger just happened.
So there's 5 chapters with a certain number of levels for each of them. I can't count. Levels can be incredibly fun with some nice set pieces including a Weapon X facility, a hidden sentinel factory in the desert, even a casino that's under construction. I think the frozen wilderness has to be my favorite area of the game. It just speaks to me and reminds me of the good old wilderness of home. Not to mention killing people with tree branches feels strangely satisfying. The only levels that I don't enjoy are the flashback jungle levels. They're just so uninteresting and feel like they take forever to complete. After a while it just gets annoying, especially after you finish a really good level and they force you back there.
Well, here's something to forget about. Hey Striker, do your thing. Hey, maybe one more just for good measure. Very good.
Within the levels are certain collectibles including dog tags which give you XP and mutagens which help boost certain abilities. Can't say I noticed much when the mutagens are equipped, but the dog tags are definitely useful and I recommend grabbing them whenever you find them. Enemies are whatever. Most of what you'll be dealing with is armies of soldiers, and even when they break away from that, they aren't really there long enough to be substantial. Out of the soldiers, the ones I find most interesting are the ones with daggers and the invisible guys that require you to use your senses to see them. Bosses are a mixed bag for me. The ones where you're fighting actual characters can be fun, but way too often you'll fight either Wendigo monsters or magma creatures, and it gets annoying really early on. The undisputed highlight, of course, is the giant sentinel, and I'd like to point out that Sabretooth literally has all of Wolverine's animations and nothing else.
Huh. And I thought X-23 was the clone.
Graphics are actually really impressive for a movie tie-in game, but if there's anything that hurts the presentation, it would be the frame rate. Most of the time it lags behind slightly, but when there's lots of things happening on screen, it really becomes distracting. It's probably the weakest part of the game, but let's move on to one of the best. In the levels, there are these Wolverine action figures. Collect a certain number of them and you'll be able to fight another Wolverine for the chance to unlock an alternate costume. Not only are these the best Wolverine costumes, but it definitely helps with coming back for multiple playthroughs. My go-to is the classic suit, but I still really like the X-Force outfit and that sexy Canadian brown. I guess the last thing to really mention is the DLC. You see this lock space here? This was a bonus area known as the Weapon X Arena, which was basically an enemy rush. Because Activision lost the license for the Marvel properties, it was unfortunately pulled from digital storefronts, and as far as I know, there's no way to get this. If there is, please let me know in the comments, because I'm really curious.
What are my final thoughts? Well, if you haven't really clued in yet, let me tell you.
X-Men Origins Wolverine is an incredibly fun hack and slash that does justice to the character and takes the material it's based on and actually improves upon it. I will say the game is bare in terms of content, and it can get repetitive, but the combat system alone is so enjoyable it makes me care less about the game's problems. Just about everything Logan can do is extremely satisfying to pull off, and the added costumes are a great bonus. This is definitely worth a playthrough or two, and if I can recommend anything, it's to take your time and to keep your eye out on dog tags and action figures. The game is a little hard to come by, but it's worth the price for sure.
Man, could you imagine if we had a new next-gen Wolverine game? That'd be pretty sweet. Well, too bad that's never happening. Alright, next time we're looking at something original for a change. So, next time we meet, we're looking at the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. With that said, I hope you all have a great night. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.